It's time for the Court Report, our bi-weekly segment with the Upper Midwest Law Center. They are a nonprofit public interest law firm on the front lines, dedicated to defending constitutional freedoms and the rule of law.
Love having him on. He's Doug Seaton. He's president of the Upper Midwest Law Center. He started the whole thing. Doug, thanks for being here, my friend.
Glad to be here, Al. Thank you very much for having us.
You have so much to talk about, and yet in my head I'm stuck on one thing, my sidebar that I want to throw at you, which is a legal term I'm sure you understand.
I've heard it before, yes.
So the news has been coming out. We've all this stuff going on with voter fraud, and that's what they even had a conference committee meeting on it yesterday. And I'm not sure I understand, first off, how we're so far down this road, and then second, who can actually sue for it. As I understand it, these two fellows put in 500 to 600 fraudulent ballots or registered 500 to 600 people.
Yeah.
For the life of me, I can't see why any two gentlemen would do that for funsies, just register people. There must be something nefarious on the other side. So it would come down to they must want to vote fraudulently. I mean, there's no other reason you could possibly be filling all that out. But here's my problem as I'm listening to these people discuss this. So let's say, and I use this with Senator Putnam, Sammy Davis Jr. I happen to know his name is on the books. He's registered. He's dead, but he's there.
Yeah.
So I go and vote as Sammy Davis. Now the person behind the counter is like, you ain't no Sammy Davis. I sing, I dance, I do a little, and they're like, well, I still don't believe you're Sammy. I'll sign my name and say I'm Sammy. Okay, they flag it to check me out, but my vote, they have to let me vote, and my vote goes into the machine with all the other votes, right? Is that how I understand this?
Yeah, that is correct. You are correct.
So then some brilliant man comes up and finds out I'm not Sammy Davis, months later, but the vote's in the machine. Right? I mean, this is the system we have?
I'm afraid it is the system we have.
No.
And it is, you could say, now no one knows the intentions of people, but it might as well have been designed to facilitate fraud, because it certainly is, it allows it to happen. We know it happens. And then, of course, it allows people to say, who are beneficiaries of the fraud, well, there's no proof of fraud, because they have hidden it so well in the system, because, as you say, once the ballots are in the hopper, there's no way to distinguish them. Now, as an old labor law lawyer, I can tell you, we have a system there, been there for almost 100 years, that says you get to cast a provisional ballot if there's any objection to your vote. And we set it aside, and if it would make a difference after we count the other ballots, then we're gonna look into your challenge and count it or not, depending on the outcome. So you have a way to get at this kind of fraud, but
we don't do it
in Minnesota.
See, that's almost just crazy to me. And then the other one, because no one can, I guess you tell me, no, you can sue you can sue an apple sandwich or a ham sandwich.
Yes.
Who has standing there at this next election when I feel somebody probably voted as Sammy Davis and he's not really alive? Do I have the ability to sue to get rid of this system, or am I not been hurt personally because it wasn't close enough, didn't matter anyhow?
Well, that's definitely in question, because the courts, they don't like to take advisory cases where they're just sort of opining off the top of their heads about something. They like to have a real case or controversy. That's fair. That's constitutional. But what that means is that in some situations, nobody's in a position to challenge these things. And certainly nobody's in a position to challenge it timely. So unless voters can do it, we're in a fix, because if the candidates have to do it, then it's never really a clear-cut issue of what votes made a difference and how do you tell it's the fraudulent votes, et cetera. So the system is very gummed up, and as you well know, there are plenty of backdoor problems as well. We got people walking in saying, I'm vouching for these 15 people behind me, and then they turn around to them and say, where'd you say you live again? So they don't know what they're talking about, but they're allowed to vouch for people and bring them in to vote. And that happens again and again in precincts that I've been in. And nobody gets to challenge that. And of course, your Sammy Davis situation, nobody gets to challenge you. Nobody gets to ask you for your driver's license. It's not allowed in our precinct. So we have a real problem.
The fact you bury them in with all other votes right away, and so you can never go back, is just so strange to me. But here, this is like, and I liken it to, was it the 2020 election? Donald Trump was suing that they're mailing out all these massive ballots, and the left will say, he was rejected 64 times by the courts. But every one of those courts said you don't have standing until after the election was the issue, right? It wasn't that maybe you got a great point here, but you won't even look at until after the election. Once the election was done, we only have 6 weeks until your vote, you're sworn in. It was over, right? You're shaking your head. It's radio. Am I nuts here that this system sets itself up for the fraud?
I'm afraid that it does. And we had a system that worked just fine where people were required to demonstrate their identity. And we had voter rolls that were subject to looking at and review. Now we've got in Minnesota, we don't have our voter rolls looked at. And of course, they're trying to keep the feds from even looking at them. Our Upper Midwest Law Center has also tried to get at them, but we have a so-called exemption from the Voter Registration Act that allows Minnesota to keep doing some of these things and not turn over the rolls to be looked at. We know there are duplicates there. We know all kinds of things are wrong on those lists. The dead people who are still on them. So we have a problem in River City, and no one who is in power now is very interested in looking at it because they are the beneficiaries of it, I'm afraid.
Tell me, except for a nefarious reason, why anyone would want a dead person on the rolls or someone who can. I mean, there's no positive reason to keep folks on the rolls.
No, there really isn't. They should be scrubbed. They are supposed to be scrubbed, but in fact, Minnesota does not do that. Many states do a good job of it. And when people can get at the rolls, because others like us, like Judicial Watch and others, have gotten at the rolls and they've helped clean them up, sometimes under force, by going to court to do it. But Minnesota has been an outlier and a problem, and people think we're back in 1980 with Wendell Anderson on the cover of Time magazine and everything's hunky-dory. But it is not. It is not.
Fair enough. Thank you. Great sidebar. Covered most of your show. Sorry about that. You have some stuff going on here, which you're going to have to explain to me. The Upper Midwest Law Center, and I don't know what HLLI is, but you guys sue Minnesota now to protect free speech rights of Mr. Reagan. You talking Ronald? What? Who are? Tell me what this is.
It's a nom de guerre or something like that, you'd call it. But that's a satirist who takes on Reagan's name to make some satiric points from the right, I guess, on political doings, mostly in California. He and our representative, Mary Franson, who you know, are both our plaintiffs in the case. And we're saying to the state of Minnesota, you can't ban these what you call avatars and memes and so on that are meant to be satirical. If we had this law at the time Jonathan Swift wrote his stuff, he'd be in jail. And we can't have that. We say the First Amendment allows us to do this sort of thing. Now pornographic adaptations of people's personas and so on, that's a different matter. That's in the same statute. We're not challenging that. That's a good thing. Mary Franson was for it. But you can't stop political caricature. That's our modern version of political caricature, and that's what they're trying to do. And then we have a related case where the AG is also trying to, under a statute in Minnesota, is going to try to police your speech at election time. If he thinks you're discouraging people from voting and who are entitled to vote. Now, we've got an ambiguous situation about felons voting in Minnesota because the Supreme Court, as you said, in other situations has, just as it has in other times, has turned away challenges saying, well, you don't have standing and we're going to decide this on other grounds. So we still have an ambiguous situation legally as far as whether felons are entitled to vote. And this statute would say, if I say that that's the case and they're not entitled to vote per the law, as we see it, the AG can challenge me and can prosecute me. So again, we're saying these things are all designed to suppress political speech if they don't like it, if the powers that be don't like it. And that's not allowed under our Constitution. We're going to fight it any way we can. And those are two cases where we're doing that.
I want to dig a deeper dive in because as you're talking about that, and I'm going to get off on this because it was when Hillary Clinton was running. Some group put out a political ad, looked like it was for Hillary. If you love Hillary, you're for Hillary, be sure to vote Wednesday the 5th. Which was, we vote on Tuesday, so it was when you got it, it's like, oh, that's funny. If you really love her, be sure to vote on Wednesday. I thought it was funny. Those people got in huge trouble. Let's talk a little bit more delve more into this on the other side of the break. Can we do that?
Sure.
I love it.
Happy
He's
to.
the president of the Upper Midwest Law Center. He is Doug Seaton. More right after this.
Are you tired of government overreach and the constant threat to your constitutional rights? The Upper Midwest Law Center is your legal sword and shield. We're a nonprofit law firm fighting every day to defend free speech, religious liberty, and the rule of law. We secure landmark victories that restore school neutrality, protect property rights, and hold government accountable. Our mission is to ensure liberty endures for all Minnesotans. So if you or your business is facing a constitutional violation, we want to hear from you. Learn more and support our work at umlc.org.
Are you kidding me?
You know that comment you said to the radio? The thing that we got wrong?
Clearly, Brussels sprouts are the worst vegetable.
Call us and let the world know your thoughts. 855-257-7469. That's 855-ALS-SHOW.
We're lucky to have him on the program with us, Doug Seaton with the Upper Midwest Law Center. Before we went to break, we're talking about two of these lawsuits that they have going on, one with Representative Franzen and the creator of Mr. Reagan. Basically, free speech. The other side was using AI technology. So we had two of them. Let me throw this way if I can, Doug. I'm a huge free speech guy. This is what I do. I don't want anybody to stifle it on either side. You can say what you want. I'll decide what I think about you later. But there was a video when AI first came out. I don't know if you've seen or not, but it was President Biden behind the Resolute desk going off on a little speech, and then he goes off. Effenheimer, this and that. It was hilarious. It's like if you had the inner workings of his brain, what would he actually say? But, so you knew it was a fake. But what scared the bejesus out of me was you only knew it was a fake because he wouldn't say stuff like that out loud, but you couldn't tell he wasn't saying it. AI scares me, and when I say this about elections especially, it comes out, Al's running for governor. Al wore blackface at a party last month. And I say, I did not. And then AI creates a picture of me at a party in blackface, and everyone's like, I saw it with my own eyes. I know he did. Yeah. There is a problem down this road. I don't want to get rid of free speech. How do you separate the two?
It is challenging, and the courts are going to have to pick their way to this. But we think that the statutes we're challenging are a hammer. They're the wrong way to address this problem. Okay. You don't crack the walnut with a hammer. And that's exactly what they're trying to do. Now, we believe in most cases, the answer is just what you said a minute ago. It's just more speech. You just have people saying that's fake. Al wouldn't do that. You say you didn't do it. And people go back and forth and they form their own conclusions. And of course, we've got defamation laws that apply in some cases as well. And we've got fraud laws that apply in some cases. So we think that there's plenty of ammunition to address these problems. And we shouldn't all run off and say we ought to have a law, because we know how much trouble that gets us into with unintended consequences in a lot of arenas. So we say, don't do that. Don't run to the legislature and fix it until we really know what the problem is. And the courts have jockeyed with the laws we do have and tried to sort it out.
So back to who has standing here. This Mr. Reagan seems to got in trouble. Representative Franson, have they been told by these entities, you're done, you can't do whatever you've done before? How do they have standing, and like an Al Travis doesn't?
Well, in this case, we're saying Mr. Reagan, the creator of Mr. Reagan, is actually putting forward these kinds of memes and avatars and satirical commentary. So we think he should have standing. We believe he does. And we think Representative Franson has standing as well. Now, we always have to fight that fight because the opposition never wants to really fight about the real issues. They always want to keep us out of court. And you know why? Because we're right.
Well, I get that. But I guess my point is, have the AG or anybody gone after these guys specifically here in Minnesota yet?
It hasn't happened as yet. Now, the statute only recently became effective. So it's not going to be, we're hoping to stop the problem before it actually hits the streets, as it were. And that's our objective here, as it is in whenever we can manage to do that, like we did with the omnibus bill, where we are attacking that, as we discussed last week, hoping to get at it before it starts to get implemented. Pieces of it are already, some pieces are later, and we're hoping we can stop the whole train before we're all in a lot of trouble.
It does. This could get me in trouble with Supreme Court. I don't know how often they work, but this started here last month. This lawsuit we're talking about right now, you guys just started this in September, right?
Yes.
So where is it? You filed your briefs and you sent them in, and that's where we're at? Or how quickly does this happen with an election coming up, in 11 months?
Well, we're hoping quickly enough. And I will say the courts, of course, they're slower than anyone would like. But that's because they're deliberate and trying to do the right thing. But when they do have an urgent matter, they tend to hurry up, or at least we encourage them to hurry up. They don't always do it, but we have methods of saying, please issue an injunction about this because something's due to happen in a month's time. So we are pursuing those strategies in many of our cases to try to get an early decision. And that's to the advantage of everyone to know what the law is before they take steps in terms of the election itself. We want to clear the decks.
I want to get my cheap law degree. So you filed this with the Supreme Court of Minnesota. You just file it right there? Is it you filed it somewhere and they told the AG, Attorney General, hey, we're suing you on this bad boy. We want this. Who knows about it so far other than everybody that listens to this great show? How do they know about it, and who's involved? And have you heard back from anybody saying, okay, we'll look at this?
Sure. We file in the district court, the first level court. Okay. And sometimes we then say, let's get an injunction or let's accelerate this to the Supreme Court right away. That's what the state has done, for example, on the omnibus bill, the bill we challenged that the district court judge found unconstitutional. Now the state wants to hurry up and get to the Supreme Court to get a decision on that in their appeal. And we're saying, oh, no, we don't think that's necessary. But if so, here's our brief. Here's why we have standing. So these fights can sometimes go quickly. Not as quickly as we would like in some cases, but we do our best to advance them fast. And the courts sometimes accommodate us. Sometimes they disagree with us about the urgency.
All right. I don't want to let you go without actually talking about your business because this is amazing to me.
Yeah.
Representative Franson, I get it. I don't know where Mr. Reagan lives, but you take on such a wide girth of lawsuits. I mean, they obviously all have some constitutional hang up. It isn't my speeding ticket. If somebody's listening to this show and say, I got the thing, how do I get a hold of you guys? What gets me to that level? How do I get a hold of you, Doug?
Well, as the trailer said, or the ad said a minute ago, UMLC.org. You get to our website and you can get input into us by email, and there's an input device there. You can simply say what the issue is. We try to respond to everybody. We're short-staffed, you know that, but we do our best to get back to everybody. And people can tell us what they think is an issue. We can't handle them all, and some things, as bad as they are, don't have legal solutions. We got to go to the legislature for that, and the governor, or change those people so we get a solution. But we do our best to answer them all. That's the way to do it. UMLC.org. And people can get to us that way. That's the best way. A little email with a little description of what it is, and we do our best to answer everything as best we can. And we got a lot coming in, as you know.
You guys are on the front end of this thing. I mean, you guys are always there. Everything I read about is about you guys. That's why I asked you to come and be on this program, and you have. Doug, I thank you again coming on. This is it just lightens my eyes up when I start reading some of this stuff. I'm just like, I'm going to get smarter today. Thank you for that, my friend. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, glad to be with you again. Take good
Upper
care.
Midwest Law Center, UMLC.org.
That's the Court Report with the Upper Midwest Law Center, with some insights into their mission to defend liberty and the rule of law. For more information on the cases and issues we discussed today, and to learn how you can support their fight, visit umlc.org. We'll see you in 2 weeks for